Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your man, Tim Swain. Listen, I done pulled some folks all the way from America to Uganda. I'm in Ghana because I'm telling a love story from across the seas. Listen, Brandon, Hajara, thank you so much for being with me today. We're connecting from different parts of the world. I know you guys are busy, but the world needs to hear this love story. So first and foremost, thank y'all for being with me today.
Thank you for
having us.
All right, so we're going to jump straight into the into. What I want to do is briefly introduce yourselves, where you are currently, and how long have you guys been married?
I'm in Uganda right now. And Mr. Abby, where are you?
I'm currently in Austin, Texas, in America, and we've been married almost a year. It will be a year come October.
We've been together for almost 3 years, and we are making almost a year married.
Wow. Okay, so you've been together for almost 3 years. You've been married for about a year. You're in Uganda. Brandon, you're in the USA. I know people are dying to hear the story. How did you guys meet? But before we get to how did you guys meet, what I want to do is back up a little bit in the story. I want to know, prior to meeting each other, did you ever imagine that you would have married someone outside of your country, and then yet alone maybe somebody from across the seas?
Hell no.
No, not at all.
No.
So, okay, so you said no. So why not? Was it just not a part of your mind frame? Did parents discourage it? Did you just not have anyone in your network that you knew from across the seas, or why not?
You go ahead
first of all, okay, baby, you can go ahead.
No, go ahead, baby. Tell them first.
First of all, I didn't know. It's like my color, really. I didn't know how my family, even all my friends, would react being with someone like Brandon. I know he's not really white, but people actually call him white. But I had that fear of how people are going to react. How is this going to work with the culture differences? How are we going to do this? And how are we going to manage the relationship if we don't even understand sometimes what the other one is even saying? So even getting together, like I'm in Uganda, he's American. I'm like, where am I going to meet someone like that? So it was all usually meeting someone in your country. And with the cultures, even in Africa, Uganda, we have different cultures. So even us ourselves, with their cultures, even though you're in the same country, their cultures, when you be like, no, I can't marry in that culture. So you can imagine marrying in another country. So it's a bit, yeah.
Wow.
And she didn't even like speaking English.
Yeah, I don't.
But now she has no choice.
Yeah, I'm stuck.
Wow. So, I mean, we get it, right? The reality is your circles may have never crossed, especially considering, just the different geographic regions. Now, let's get into the part that everybody wants to hear. Let's rewind time to how did you actually meet?
Well, believe it or not, we met on Facebook. We were both part of a Facebook group. I don't remember the name of it now because it doesn't exist anymore, but it was a place where African Americans could interact with Africans, and you would talk about differences in culture, life, the dating scene. It's just a place for us to meet and I guess, fellowship. And, one day they were saying, post your bio and your picture if you're single. And, I did it, not really taking it seriously. I was just doing it out of curiosity, just to see if I would get a response. And she was the only one that responded to it. She was the only one, I think she sent me a like or something. And then I sent her a message and we started chatting on Facebook. And then we progressed to going to WhatsApp. We were doing video chats, texting, and we did that for about maybe a year and a half.
I
So I
had
guess
8 months.
okay, she knows the exact.
She knows the exact date.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Now,
I
here's a
guess.
question for you. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I didn't have any serious expectations, or I never thought I was going to meet anybody from the continent of Africa. I didn't ever think I would ever go to Africa or fall in love with someone and get married. Uh, but you never know how life is going to turn out. I didn't see that coming. It just happened. Um, I guess at first, you have your reservations about it. You can be hesitant. But then, over time, it all worked out for the best.
So then Hajar, right? Tell me,
Yeah.
what was it? Now, he said he got no responses from the picture that he posted. What was it about his picture or whatever he wrote on that caption that got you to respond, put a like or something like that? What was it?
He didn't really write anything. He just posted their picture. But I loved his bald head. I like his bald head and the beard, and he has those beautiful eyes. So when I saw the picture, I just liked the picture. Mm.
All right, all right, all
And
right, all right. All right, so you love that bald head, the beautiful eyes, and the bald bearded, beautiful eyed man. All right.
Yeah.
yeah, so I just liked the picture, and then he inboxed me. He just said, "Hey," and then the rest is history.
Okay, so now we're gonna get into the history because people need to know. You started talking on Facebook, then you moved it to WhatsApp.
Yeah.
When did you realize this may be something serious?
Almost, I think for me, it was a bit quick for me to realize this is it. Because when I met Brandon, I was so I kept to myself. I could not go out. I would just be in the house and all of that. But then when I met Brandon, he was like, "You should leave. You should go out. You should do this." He wanted me to have that for myself. And he wanted me to be like to have something of my own and enjoying my life and all of that. So it made me realize if someone wants really the best for me and is putting me out there to experience life, that was the first time for someone to be like, "Hey, you need to live your life and enjoy. This is what's supposed to be done." I realized so quickly, like, I could be with this person and I would enjoy life with him.
Wow.
So it was
Wow.
a bit quick for me to realize.
Wow. What about for yourself, Brandon?
Me, I was a little bit more stubborn and hesitant. It took a while for me. Um, how do I want to put it? I guess at first, like I said, I was hesitant. I was, I guess, what you call vetting. I was looking for red flags or anything like that. But she stayed the same. The whole time she never changed. I never noticed any red flags. Even though I wasn't giving her maybe the amount of attention I should have been giving her at the beginning, she never gave up. She never stopped. And then finally, I just realized, wow, she's for real. She's not playing any games. She's not trying to act to be somebody else. And I guess finally it took one day, when we first got into our main argument, it was like, it's time for you to come to Africa and visit me. We've been talking and chatting enough.
He didn't
It's
want
time to
to
put
come
up and
here.
shut up. And I was like, I'm not comfortable with that yet, and then she told me, stop looking for the bad things in Africa and start looking for the good things. And so, that's when I went on YouTube and did my research and I started finding good things about Africa, about Uganda, and it made me feel more comfortable to want to come out there. And,
Wow.
Once we had that argument, normally, when you have an argument, with someone, it might take maybe 3 or 4 days before you guys cool off and talk again. With her, she called me back, within like 5 minutes. And I was like, wow, I thought you was hot. I thought you wasn't gonna, call me back for a little while. She's like, no, I'm over it, and then,
Wow.
yeah, so that was a big game changer for me. I was like, wow, I can get used to this. I like that. I like that, we could get through our arguments, our differences, that fast. We both could say what we want to say, come to an agreement, and get over it and move on. So then finally, once I came out there and I met her in person, that's when I realized that, I wanted to marry her. It didn't hit me until then. And then I realized I had been wasting my time the past, what was it, year and 8 months that I was being stubborn.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Wow. So then let me ask some real questions, right, that people want to know, because I've been back and forth in Ghana for like 15 years, and one of the things I do is try to bring people from the African diaspora together to have real conversations. And oftentimes there are stereotypes associated with each other. I mean, let alone in our individual countries, but yet across the seas there are often stereotypes. And so, what was your perception of each other? Like, did you believe that this was just a good man and maybe he didn't have anything in his mind of harm doing to me? This is just a great woman. Maybe she's not trying to scam me or something like that. Because these are the realities that people think about. And I want to ask you, did you have any of those thoughts? And if you did, how did you kind of, ease your mind and alleviate those?
I think I had, because when we just started talking, and I could tell, like, hey, I'm talking to someone like in another country is American, and I'm like, oh, it's not going to work out. Those people are like, because most of the time, everyone believes American people have temper, and period. Like everyone, I don't know. It's maybe because what we watch and what we see and what is open to us. Of course, everyone thinks they have. Even for him to come here, I think the first when my sisters met him, they were testing him with his temper, telling him lies and all of that, just to test how he's going to react and all of that. So I had that in my mind. I'm like, what if he's violent? What if he's this? What if he's that? But once you actually, I think sometimes maybe people don't take time. You meet online and then the next step is just doing meeting and then getting married and all of that. For us, the fact that we took time to talk to each other and get to know each other. Of course, you have those fears, like if we meet, yes, we have been talking and everything is going well, but if we meet and it's totally different. But even meeting, everything was okay. So I had it, but thank God, he's not a
Yeah,
serial killer.
yeah, we both had, I guess, like our stereotypes. Like, for her in Africa, I guess the only examples of African Americans they saw were in the movies, the rappers, the thugs, stuff like that. And for us in America, all they really show us about Africa is,
Poverty.
poverty, the starving kids, the disease, all the bad stuff. So we both got just, I guess, the stereotypes, but we didn't get the whole picture of each other. We just got the bad. We didn't get the good, the bad, the complete picture. So when I first came over there and they got to meet me, they're like, "Oh, okay, he's nothing like the guys from the movies and the thugs and and stuff like that." And then when I got over there, I was like, "Oh, this is a beautiful country. It's a beautiful environment. It's not just poverty and disease and all this other crazy stuff. Yes, that's there, but you have all the other beautiful stuff that they don't show you in America." And so once you get to see the whole picture, you start to learn that, pretty much every place is the same. It's just different stuff you have to deal with. No place is perfect. Every place has good stuff and bad things about it. It's just going to be different from country to country or continent to continent. But, once you get there and you actually see it and you experience and get to see the whole picture, then you have a whole different outlook on that person and where they come from. And I think we both kind of experienced that for each other.
Yeah,
Wow.
and maybe people thinking you're with someone because you're after money or because of the papers and all of that. That's the most thought everyone gets. Like, it's
Yeah.
always about the money. It's always about the papers. And I'm like, I'm actually okay here. I'm very, very okay in Uganda. I don't need that. And even the time, like, we'll be talking and all of that, there was no money involved at all. Like, you think she's after my money, but there is no money I'm really giving her. There is nothing we are really, it's just getting to know each other and experience our love and all of that, really.
Wow. Wow. So you had your experience in Uganda, then you realize, okay, this is someone, or you both realize this is someone that I want to be with. So take us to the wedding. Where were you guys married? And was there any, and what was like, maybe like the highlight? Were there any like cultural traditions infused within the wedding? Was it a fusion of the American style and the Uganda style? What was the parents' reception or the family's reception? Talk us through the wedding and maybe some highlights of that time.
Okay. Well, I know one part of it was before we got married, I had to go and meet her father and ask permission, to have his daughter. I had to, babe, what's the name of the thing I did when I exchanged the coffee beans?
Did you do a
With
bride
that?
price?
Yes, we
Yeah,
did
he
the bride
did.
price. Yeah, we had to do the bride price. That was after we did the coffee bean exchange, which symbolizes me officially becoming his son. And so then after
Wait,
that,
so I hate to interrupt you, but a question that people need to know, especially from in Africa, what was the bride price? Like, how much did you have to pay? Because a lot of times it can be a lot. It can be a lot. Listen, it can be a
right,
whole herd of goats, a whole herd of horses. It can be some gold. How much
we
did you have to pay to convince the family
we,
that, hey, I can take
Tim,
care of your daughter?
we really
it was
can't say what the bride price is, but all you have to know, if you're marrying an African girl, you have to pay bride price. And bride price, it really depends. So you have to sit with sometimes you have to agree with the woman you're with. So if you understand your man and you know what you have and you know his pocket and all of that, when you go to your family, you can easily negotiate according to what you know your man can afford. Some families understand, some families actually don't. They have like, they agree on something, we want this, and that is it. But some family, they understand, like, hey, this is the man I love and I want to get married to him, but this is what we can afford. It's totally also okay. So it's not a must to everyone who wants to marry an African girl. Don't be scared with the bride price. It's a matter of negotiating, and your woman plays a big role in the bride price.
Okay,
mhm.
so Brandon, before we go back to the wedding, Hajara, I'm sorry, can you explain for people who've never heard of the bride price who are watching what that actually is?
Bride price, it's like a pay you give to the woman's parents, because in Africa they believe once you get married to a man, you're out of that family. You become the husband's family. So you pay a price to the family, especially to the father, so that you get their daughter. So it's an agreement between the elders. Usually it's done between elders. If his parents were here, they would just sit as parents and they agree on the bride price. But since he really doesn't understand our culture that much, and his parents couldn't come because of the long journey, we had to sit, me and him, we agreed on what we can as a couple. Then I had to sit with my father. My father told me what he wanted, but then I was like, hey, this is what we have, and you can do that as well. So it's a payment between parents. It's like exchanging for him to become my father's son and for me to become his parents' daughter.
Okay, thank you so much for the explanation.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the wedding, right? So you sat down with the family, you paid the bride price. We're talking about the highlights and maybe some of the responses of the family from both sides.
Okay. Well, we had the wedding shortly after I met her father. We had a civil union, at the courthouse. We actually had to wait like 20 days. You go
Yeah.
to the courthouse, you fill out your paperwork, you wait 20 days, then you come back, and you have one witness. So she had her one witness, which was her bridesmaid. I had my best man there. Um, and I think we had a photographer and someone taking video. And then
And that
after the
is
Yeah,
this,
civil,
all of this is in Uganda, correct?
yeah,
yes,
we
yes,
really had
All
a
right,
simple wedding, because before
fantastic.
we got married, they tell you for him to bring a certificate from America that really shows he's not married there. So he has to
Mm.
show that evidence that he's not
right.
married that side. So he brings that here. Then we register. I do also the same. We had a small wedding with my parents, with a few of my family, my siblings. We were 20 at the wedding.
Now, did you guys have a traditional wedding as well?
Not
or
yet.
was the
That
one
part when
wedding?
he came to visit, that's what we call, because in Uganda we have kuchala, that is like the visit. Then we have the traditional wedding. So sometimes you can do kuchala and pay bride price and be done with it. But if you want, you can still go ahead with a traditional wedding. But for both cases, the most important thing is the bride price. So once you pay the bride price, everything is good to go.
And
Wow.
we had a civil union mainly just so I could get a marriage certificate and bring it back to America to give to the immigration lawyer so we could get the process started. So it was much easier for us to get married in Uganda. It was less red tape. It was a little bit more reasonable on the prices and everything. And so, we were able to plan the wedding, ourselves, like within 2 weeks. She got her
Yeah,
dress. We picked out a
we did
cake.
everything by ourselves.
Yeah, I already came with a suit prepared, so I just had to get it tailored and altered a little bit. And we did all that ourselves, within like 2 weeks. Uh,
Wow.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, so let's talk about. But before we wrap it up, what I want to talk about very briefly is let's get real, right? We talked about the amazingness of once in a lifetime love striking us on Facebook. Hashtag thanks Mark Zuckerberg for introducing us to that. And we talked about the beautiful wedding and the negotiations, and you loved his bald head and his beard, and he loved your beauty and your brains and all that. But let's talk about the realities. Dealing with a long distance, not just long distance, a long distance marriage.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What are some of the challenges that you guys face?
Mr.
Uh,
Abi?
well, I mean, just the distance, just being apart, not being able to, spend every day with the person that you love. It's a lot of communication. Um, it's a lot of work, but we make time, to talk to each other every day, text messaging, video chats, or just talking on the phone. But I guess that's the biggest challenge is just the distance, and it teaches you patience. You got to have patience and a lot of communication. If you have, both of those going, you have a good chance, to make it work. And I think, what helped us out in our case is that, when we first met, we weren't, like we didn't meet in person. So when we first met, we were talking and video chatting for like a year and 8 months. So we were already kind of used to that. And it kind of really forced us to get to know each other as people. It wasn't any of the physical stuff, none of that. It's just strictly mind to mind, person to person. And we did that for about a year and a half. So once we met each other in person, it got even better. It was even better, but it made it harder to go back to doing that, to going back to the video chatting, going back to the text messaging, because we know
Yeah.
how great it was when we were together in person. But I think having met the way that we did at first kind of helped us. Okay, we've done this before. We know we can do it. It's not going to be easy. We're going to have our good days and our bad days. I have some bad days. Hajara has some bad days, but we're always there to lift the other person up. I know when I'm having my bad days, she'll lift me up or say something to make me start laughing, and I'll do the same thing for her. And so we're constantly lifting each other up and, communicating and, just being patient because we're both working towards the same goal of us living together in the same country, uh, living together under the same roof all the time. And, that's what we're working towards. So as long as we're, focused on that goal, we're both on the same page. It's really not that hard. Hajar, you want to go ahead and give your take?
I think you said it already. Communication really matters. As long as you communicate and making yourself busy, because when you're busy, sometimes you don't overthink about it. But when you're just seated there and it's all you think about it, but once you're busy, you have your day going on, waking up, going to work, and then by the time you get home, you're looking forward to talk to each other, but still just rest because you're tired. I think the communication and keeping yourself busy and even having family around. I'm very, very close to my family. So I don't get so bored and overthinking about because I always have someone around and I always have family around. So yeah, it's not that hard sometimes, but it's hard.
I get you. I get you. Oh, let me turn this AC off so it won't be too loud. But you know, I think about before we wrap up, we're gonna have to bring you back for part two because we need to answer the question how to keep a love life long distance. But that's gonna be part two when we bring you back. You know, I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
There's some toys and some phones, light the candle. Hey, what you got? Anyway, we'll bring you back for part two for that. People who are watching this may also have an interest in creating a love story like yours. Hajar and then Brandon. I want two different pieces of advice. So neither one can say he said it or she said it.
Okay.
What are like, let's say 1 to 3 tips? It can be things that you should do, things that you shouldn't do if you're entering into a long distance cross-cultural relationship like yours. We'll go with ladies first.
Well, I think first of all, make sure you're okay, or you'll be okay to accept each other's cultures, because they are totally different. Sometimes it could be a good thing, sometimes it's really a mess. So you have to be open-minded with what will happen, or sometimes the other person will do something and you won't really understand, because sometimes I say something and it's like he's total understanding something else because of how we pronounce things and all of that. So you have to accept the cultures, the language, because you see, even some couples don't even speak each other's language. Some couples, you see interracial couples, and they don't even speak English. Both of them speak different languages. I wouldn't advise that. Get someone who can at least speak English, because communication really matters. And maybe lastly, Mr. Abi, you can go ahead with the next one. Yeah.
Like I would say, don't be in a rush. Take your time to vet the whole situation, the person and everything. Take your time to really get to know them as a person. If you see any red flags that come up, address the red flag right there. If you can't resolve it, move on. If you see any type of red flag, you gotta deal with it right then and there. Because some people, like they see our experience and see how it turned out, and they think, well, it's going to be the same way for us. Our experience, the way that it happened, doesn't always happen that way. Hajara was the first woman that I met from Africa, and I had a great experience, and I got married. That's not going to happen with everybody. You might have to meet 2 or 3 different people before you meet that right person. So I would just stress, don't be in a rush. Vet the situation, vet the person. If there's any red flags, as far as the scamming, as far as trying to get money or the papers, if any of that comes up at the very beginning, that should tell you right there, move on. Don't ignore the red flags, and just be patient and take your time. And then when it's right to take that next step, you'll know. But you can't rush into a decision and make it like, oh, I've known this person for like 2 months. I'm ready to go over to a different continent and get married. Like it took me a year and a half to get to that point. So I would say just take your time and don't be in a rush.
If someone is asking for man and nudes, run. Yeah.
Last question. I want you to tell me, or tell the folks that are watching, what's your favorite thing about her, and what's your favorite thing about him?
I think I said my favorite thing already.
His bald head and his eyes and his beard.
Besides that, babe. Besides that.
But what if he cuts the beard, and then it's like only 2 things to love about him? I mean,
Well, I met him when it was okay, babe. You can go ahead.
I guess the thing that I like about her, I like she has a calming effect on me. The first thing I notice about her, she's very soft spoken. It helps keep me calm. I love her femininity. It just comes out. It has a good effect on me. And she's very genuine. Very genuine. Yeah, so that's what I would say is probably my favorite thing about her.
Yeah, now we got to come to you, Hajara.
My favorite thing, I think, he's very, very gentle. Like for me, even that really attracted me to be married to him. It's how gentle he is with me, and even with everyone, the respect he has with everyone. I think when we started talking, and I was talking to my friend, I was like, I met this American man, and he's like, is his parents still together? And I'm like, yes, why? And like, okay, now that's a good man. Because people in America, when they do divorces, everything messes up. So I think for him to be being grown up in a home with both his parents and really, really good parents, he has that respect that he grew up with, or now he gives to people. He's very respectful, he's very gentle, so, and very loving and caring.
Wow.
I wouldn't change anything. Yeah.
Thank you,
Well, listen, I'm so grateful that you guys decided to spend some time with me today. I know people are very encouraged by your love story. And listen, if this is your first time watching, make sure you click that like button, make sure you subscribe. I know you love this content, so definitely drop a comment below. As always, until next time, peace.